Special United Nations Ambassador Gerald NSENGIYUMVA. Here is part 5 of the United Nations peacekeeping operations. Post-Cold War. With the end of the Cold War, there was a dramatic shift in global relations. The superpower confrontation that had so far paralyzed the ability of the United Nations to respond fully to threats to peace and security was removed. There was a renewed zeal in the Security Council to address collectively the conflicts that could threaten international and regional peace and security. Member states also saw additional imperatives to take action, including large-scale violations of human rights and humanitarian concerns. They were seen as destabilizing factors that could also threaten world peace and security. In the first decade of the post-Cold War era, the United Nations was confronted with a significant change in the nature of conflict. Wars between states had become more the exception than the rule. Post-Cold War conflicts were predominantly civil wars. Indeed, today's conflicts are typically an internal struggle with different armed actions or actors, a wide range of weapons, the application of guerrilla tactics and asymmetrical warfare. Civilians are also increasingly the targets of violence, and most of the interstate conflicts are aimed at destroying or undermining the state apparatus, leading to a significant deterioration of the ability of the government to either protect its citizens or to provide for their basic needs. Therefore, a humanitarian crisis is often a consequence of these conflicts, along with the serious violations of human rights. In the new environment, increasing numbers of conflicting parties add to the complexity of such conflicts. Many intrastate and ethnic conflicts typically involve rival warlords, factional leaders, paramilitary forces, or even organized criminal groups. The principle of reciprocity in international law that has historically given states an incentive to cooperate with each other and to respect international norms and rules is meaningless for such non-state actors. Warlords and factional leaders have little regard for international law. The international community has very limited leverage in making them comply. Post-Cold War conflicts have thus blurred what lines existed between national and international affairs. Military and civilian targets, organized crime, gangs, and legitimate political groups, and civil and interstate war. The key problem in this situation is anarchic violence within countries, not the use of military force between them. The collapse of rule of law and the undermining of state institutions further adds to the climate of anarchy. The response of the international community to these new types of conflict was to expand the scope of peacekeeping greatly, making it multidimensional and complex. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, the number, size, and scope and the cost of such efforts increased dramatically as the international community struggled to deal with the internal collapse and state the environment of anarchy and the large-scale human suffering accompanying these conflicts. Policymakers saw peacekeeping as a tool for helping to resolve the conflicts, mitigating the humanitarian crisis. Peacekeeping were tasked to create a safe and secure environment within which humanitarian actors could operate and normal institutions of governance could be re-established. Peace operations were tasked to support the development of democratic institutions and a return of the rule of law, along with building capacity to monitor human rights and to enforce law and order. In the next part, we are going to look at the types of peacekeeping operations. Thanks for listening.